guys. Hey, gals. Hey, fellas. Hey, goyles. I'm so happy to be here with you on a Thursday night because I love Thursday nights. I've always loved Thursday nights. You're past the middle of the week, especially if you feel like the first 3 nights were spent well. And I believe the first 3 nights of this week were spent well. Well spent. And tonight, we're going to be able to chill out a little bit. There's no guests coming on, so it's you and I. And it might be the best for that, for the reason that we have a little bit of a subject matter that requires some pretty big review. And thankfully, a lot of the thoughts I have already been written down in my notes from many months ago. We'll talk about that. The title of tonight's show is Havana in Tucson. Oddi versus Puffstein. And then, of course, Season of the Knish. That's going to be in the second half. We'll do a little bit more about the exploding phones, and I thought Season of the Knish was a good spin on that whole thing. But as far as Havana and Tucson, I want to talk about the strange Havana Syndrome-like experiences that Trump rally goers went through in Tucson, Arizona a couple days ago. And then we have the very mysterious Mr. Jonathan Oddi, who has bubbled to the surface here. Now, of course, many of the big, engagement farming accounts are just like developing. It's not developing. But it's a great time to go and check into it because this whole thing with Puff Daddy is reaching a new levels of importance. I know that anything that with certain people, if you bring up anything that is entertainment related or sports related, they go into knee-jerk lemon face reactions. But every once in a while there is a reason to look into it because everything mirrors everything and everything is connected. The reason why so many people are wary of professional sports now is because it's infected by the same things that are, kicking around in our churches. It's everywhere. And this is very important. We did this back in winter, late winter. It was starting to pop up around February. And on March 1st, 2024, we jumped into this subject matter right around the Cassie lawsuit. When everybody started reading into it and said, oh, I see here. We're talking about another Epstein situation, aren't we? Well, we'll get into that. It's a big one. I have a lot of booking announcements to make to you. Let's go through it just a little bit, just so you can see what's coming up. We got Mr. Alan Weiner from WBCQ coming on with us next week. He is the owner, operator of a shortwave radio station, I believe in Maine, that is doing worldwide shortwave radio syndication of shows like this, although we're not on it now. I would love to get a sponsor to be on that. But anyway, I want to bring him on to talk about shortwave radio and how it's still alive and why it's so important. It's something that's very cozy to me, but something I'm not involved in, and I would like to. I'd like to be. Then September 26th to 29th, I am off hanging out with Jay Gulanello at the Perpetual Health Retreat. We will be doing a special hour-long broadcast either on that Friday the 28th or Saturday the 28th and Friday the 27th. One of those days. So I'll let that be known. But we got Black Conservative Patriot coming back on October 2nd. That's a Wednesday. And then I go on Matt Christensen's show for a little overtime afterwards because Blonde's not going to be in that night. Jay Gulanello, Fleckus Friday on October 4th, Noor Bin Laden, Tony Merkel, The Confessionals. That's going to be great. BX Investigates. That's going to be a really interesting one on October 16th. She's got a very interesting story to tell. We're going to be talking about the darkest corner of the web that night. Jeremy Reese, the alien scientist, on October 22nd. We'll be talking about UFO and spooky science. Bob Motta coming on from the Defense Diaries later in the October to talk about the creepiest cases that he's ever covered. Alex Petkus Ancient History, Modern Parallels, Jeremy Ryan Slate and Roger Stone, Really Graceful. We're going to be talking about all the weird things that are happening in America. That's on October 29th. Then on October 30th, with George Alexopoulos, hopefully here in the studio, we're going to be doing military paranormal stories. And there'll be a general ghost storyline open. Dr. Albert Taylor will be on with us on Halloween night, November 1st. I have a special note on November 1st. It's a Friday night. You know why? Because it's the last Friday that, the November election is only a couple of days later. Is that going to be our last Friday with Matt? God forbid. So, I mean, we have to do something special with Matt on November 1st because it may be all over the next week. And then I have nothing planned for a couple of days after the election because I'm sure we're just going to be talking about the fallout and what's going on and what the next couple of months to years are going to look like for us. But then in that second week, guys and gals, second to second and a half week of November, the rebrand that I've been teasing you with about the show, that's not only going to be an internet presence rebrand, it's going to be everything around me. We're taking this room down to the studs. Well, not to the studs, but down to the paint. I'm working things out with my father to figure some aesthetics out. There's a lot of lighting changes that are going to be going on. There's just things that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time. And it's going to take a little time. I'm hoping I can fit it all in an extended weekend. I'm going to have to take at least 1 or 2 days off to extend the weekend and get a lot of things all done. The painting is going to be something else. But that's coming up. I'd like to have all that done before Thanksgiving. And another reason to sponsor the show. We're not doing any big money bomb fundraisers. Paint doesn't cost that much. But there's a lot of other things that are going to come along with it. You know, in the real world and in the digital world. And I'm looking forward to coming out of the gate swinging once again in 2025. I love having fresh starts. It's a fresh start in 24, a fresher start in 25. And that's all I have for you on the announcement end. All right, into the grab bag we go. Oh, wait a second. We have a poll up on YouTube. You know, considering what I just said about November 1st. Where is it? Let me go and tell you what it is. If you're not watching on YouTube, you should definitely get over there, at least just to vote on this poll. Come on. Oh, there you go. All right, the poll in the YouTube chat. Please vote and then like the stream. What are you voting for? What are you voting for in November? Please answer. Is it on immigration? Is it on the economy? Or choice C, is it saving Matt's life? Okay, this is a big one. I want to know what's going on. What is your main reason for going out there and voting in November? I have 3 big issues there: immigration, the economy, or saving a friend's life. So let's see what you guys come up with. We already have nearly 200 people voting, and we'll check on that at the end of the night. And I'll let Matt know. Maybe this will be a little bit of a reason to stick around. You know, I think that it's more than a reason to stick around. All right, so that's the YouTube poll. Here's another one from Mediaite. Headline from Mediaite: stunning new survey suggests that Kamala Harris's favorability is 25 points underwater with independents. But it doesn't matter. With independent voters, 25 points underwater. New polling from Gallup suggested that Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris is fighting a losing battle with independent voters. According to a new survey of 1,007 American adults conducted between September 3rd and 15th, both Harris and Republican nominee Donald Trump's favorability ratings are underwater. 46% of respondents view Trump favorably, 53% view him unfavorably. Harris is viewed 44% unfavorably by 54%. So, I mean, listen, it doesn't matter. Maybe those are what some of the internals are saying, but you know, despite Trump locking up the RFK crowd, locking up Tulsi's crowd with some big wins with the Teamsters and other unions, whatever that, and then of course just the natural exodus effect that's been going on for 8 to 10 years now politically in this country, brainless Harris is still winning somehow by as much as 7 points, depending on what nincompoop you're asking. Which nincompoop you're asking, I should say. And yeah, here you go. A little bit more on that front. Kamala Harris, this is the headline from the New York Post, mocks Trump's call for mass deportation of illegal immigrants. Vice President Harris dismissed former President Trump's pledge to mass deport illegal immigrants on Wednesday, asking how he planned to accomplish that goal. Quote, they have pledged to carry out the largest deportation, a mass deportation in American history. Imagine what that would look like and how that would be. How is that going to happen? Massive raids, massive detention camps? Asked Harris in an incredulous tone. What are they talking about? Well, yeah. What are you going to do? Ask people to leave? Who are they? The Swedes? I forgot which European country are literally trying to pay people to leave now, and they're just like, nah, I think I'll stay here, because one lump sum payment is not enough as staying here and having my ass wiped by your government and being paid on top of it. So it's like, what are they gonna do? You're gonna round them up? Like, what are you gonna? Well, yeah. What do you usually do with a criminal? What do you usually do with a criminal? I mean, they took a vote. They took a vote in Congress, I think either today or last night, to pass a law that would at least expedite the deportation of sex offenders, pedophiles, things like that, to expedite the deportation of non-citizen sex offenders. And like 158 Democrats voted no. I mean, it came down to just, can't we just agree on this one thing that you think would be universal? And then it comes out this mentality. How do we even do that? I mean, these people you actually have in your custody already. It's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, do you need detention camps? I don't know. Like I said, all you need is bus tickets and some chewy granola bars, so everybody has a little snack to eat on the way down to Mexico City, and dump them there. And then bring about every last soldier we have sitting in Berlin, and put them on our southern border where, they have something to do and they aren't just jacking each other off. That would be nice. These people, these are the people that locked down metropolises. Metropoli? Is that how you say it? They locked down the biggest cities on earth because of the cold. And they don't know how they're going to get rid of tens of millions of illegal immigrants. Come on. It's just so silly. They're already here, so they win. That's how the game goes. That's the rule. If you manage to get here, you win, and there's nothing we can do. Might as well just start voting, right? Cackle. It's just there they are. And her face is already falling apart. Her neck looks like candle wax. It's all such a mess. This is the worst LARP ever. I would prefer Hillary. I seriously would prefer Hillary. I really would. This was the worst LARP ever. It's so horrible. And I hate that she's even getting this kind of VIP treatment. She's just so, and they probably hate giving it to her too. Okay? They're probably just like this, ugh, we worked so long. And this is the person? This is the one? This is the prized horse? Anyway, in California, there's even more retardation coming out of the governor's mansion. Gavin Newsom has signed a bill into law making disinformation or deceptive content, deepfakes, illegal. Because I think Elon Musk retweeted an altered Kamala Harris campaign ad that that everybody knows was parody, because she's up there in the ad pretty much saying, if you don't vote for me, you're racist and sexist, which is, we understand the underlying theme of the world we live in now. There's really no substance to it, but it's supposed to be, it's parody, and anybody with a brain understands that. Well, Gavin Newsom, he's just, the guy's a real asshole. He just really is. He says he can't rule out taking legal action against Elon Musk either. So I guess that means that CNN is not allowed to function. If you can get jailed for memes in California right now, maybe the upside is that CNN is no longer legally allowed to operate in California. I mean, isn't that where Kamala Harris calls home? It wasn't even a deep fake. During a debate a week and a half ago, she said she used the Nazi endorsement at Charlottesville thing, which is blatant disinformation at this point. Now that is universally accepted disinformation at this point. You can call it malinformation because there was malicious intent there. So I guess she's going to be arrested on site the next time she goes to L.A. I'd be really interested in seeing that, or given a fine, a citation. I don't know what this really is going to look like as far as enforcement, but here's a little bit of the jackal from California talking about it. Listen.
I think Mr. Musk has missed the punchline. Parody is still alive and well in California, but deep fakes and manipulation of elections, that hurts democracy and the integrity of the system and trust. And we believe in truth and trust, and we think this law is sound and will be upheld in courts.
Right.
So do you intend to seek legal action, whether on Elon Musk or any of the proliferating
well,
deepfakes?
The law asserts that many can seek injunction relief, and I just signed the law. I just signed 30.
Californians, is he always this gurgly? What's wrong with his voice? Is he always this gurgly? What is this? Huh.
2 other bills on housing, and I haven't had a chance to review.
Oh, man, if there was ever a time that a big, near giant clump of airplane shit could just fall out of the sky and land on somebody. You know those like, those instances where like you hear about an airplane that just jettisons all of its porta potty shit and falls in somebody's backyard. That'd be so great. That would have been great. Then he'd really have a gurgle. Really have to gurgle his way through the next address. Okay. Well, that's a little bit all I had for you. I just wanted to do a little talking. So you guys had 15 minutes to get in through the front door and nestle your beautifully shaped round ass in your usual seat. The seat that has just embraced the size and the scope of your beautiful butt. So have a good time. We'll be right back.
It's enough to get me to the boiling point!
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!
Okay. September 19th, 2024. It's you, it's me, it's Jonathan Oddi. Boy, oh boy, where has he been? Where is he? How is he? Is he doing okay? Anyway, we'll get around to that in just a second. I want to start off in Tucson. Welcome to the show, everybody. Here's the first thing up. And of course, when we start opening up the lines, everything is You can comment on whatever you want, whether it was in the grab bag or this or that, but we have some pretty big main themes here. Here we go. Headline from the Gateway Pundit. 20 supporters seated behind Trump on stage rushed to the emergency room with blurred vision eye burns after rally in Tucson, Arizona. Arizona Globe journalist Christy Kelly had reported a troubling development following former President Donald Trump's rally in Tucson, Arizona last Thursday. Kelly noted that as many as 20 people were affected by these symptoms, all whom were seated to the left of the stage. Many supporters seated behind Trump on stage went to the ER after the rally with blurred vision and burning to the eyes. I spoke to several who had still not had been fully recovered. As many as 20 were affected, Kelly wrote on X. The cause of the symptoms remains unknown, and an active investigation is underway. Supporters from the Latinos for Trump group were among the most severely impacted, including Pastor Eli Moreno and his wife, Francesca. Pastor Moreno described mild discomfort, but his wife's symptoms were far worse. Her vision blurred, her face swelled up, and we had to rush to the nearest Walgreens for help. Mrs. Moreno's symptoms persisted for several days, and despite treatment in the ER, she had been referred to an ophthalmologist for further care. Another attendee, Myra Rodriguez, a Planned Parenthood whistleblower, shared a similar experience, explaining that just 30 minutes after leaving the rally, she was unable to open her eyes due to extreme burning. When I got to the hospital, they told me I had a chemical burn. Days later, I'm still dealing with blurry vision and sensitivity to light. In an interview with News 4 Tucson, Rodriguez described her visit to the emergency room, where medical staff asked if she had been sprayed with something based on her unusual symptoms. The emergency room staff, from the triage nurse to the PA, the physician's assistant, asked, "Are you sure you didn't get sprayed with something? Your symptoms look like you got sprayed with something. I can't see anything when I try to open my eyes. I see a bright light. It hurts. It hurts a lot to open my eyes. I have this cold cloth I put on and take off constantly. It's horrible," she added. News 4 reported she said the doctors were not able to pinpoint exactly what caused her injuries. Her vision has started to improve as of Tuesday, so her blindness does not appear permanent, end quote. The outlet added, quote, her initial thoughts of it being allergies seemed to go out the window when she started to hear from several other people that were seated near her at the event, reporting that they too suffered eye injuries. News 4 also spoke with a brother and sister who wished to remain anonymous after they experienced alarming symptoms while seated near Myra. Now, this is not totally in line with Havana Syndrome. It's just the first thing that came to my mind because you have, I don't know, a group of people. Sometimes it's targeted, other times it's a little bit more generalized, who are just become symptomatic. And I mean, it's not coincidence that they're all sitting together around the same section. Now, what was dispersed? I don't know. And what exactly was it meant to do? Was it meant to do this? Was it meant to get Trump? Was this another assassination attempt? Can you consider it assassination attempt if people haven't died? I mean, obviously, blindness, even if it's temporary, is pretty serious. So you can't call it attempted murder, right? But a chemical burn. So was it aimed at Trump, and were these people just collateral damage? I don't know. The Trump campaign has been collecting information. We remain committed to the countless patriots that attend our high-energy, high-impact rallies across the country. The other question here, too, that I've seen some people ask, and it's probably why this stuff has happened between this and the assassination attempts, which I heard Merrick Garland, vetoed the charge of assassination attempt of that latest guy, the Routh guy down in Florida. I don't know how that could be. But I guess these people are masters at judging what's inside the hearts of men and women. But that is it's a very serious question here about safety going forward, because now we're seeing things like this happen with frequency. It's an increasing frequency. And it's now the last third of the month of September. Damn. Month and a half away. I mean, just think about it, man. Now, I know that 2020 was a time warp, but think about 2016 to 2020, time warp. I know that there was so much more that was thrown at us in 2020 that ate up like 2 whole years before we started feeling any like normal sense of time. But it's just incredible that we're sitting here. It's going to be 2028 before you know it. God willing. You know? It starts getting to a point where it's like, God willing, we get old and gray and deal with the things that old people deal with. Because it's just nuts. It really is. So you let me know what you think about that. Here's a little bit of a television bit on it all. We'll play this for a second, then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the first half.
Reporters of former President Donald Trump that were allowed to sit behind his stage at his Tucson rally last week tell the News 4 Tucson investigators they left with mysterious injuries to their eyes. News 4 Tucson's chief investigative reporter Course Nylander is live outside the Tucson Music Hall downtown. Course, what are we learning about their situation?
Yeah, well, Monica, this is where thousands of people came out to hear former President Donald Trump speak last week. There was a group of 48 people allowed to sit on stage behind Trump throughout the event. They were split into 2 groups on each side of the stage. One side seemed to walk away without any issues, but multiple people seated near each other on the other side tell me that they had to go to the emergency room after they left the event. Here tonight, for the first time, the Trump campaign is confirming that they're investigating this situation.
You know, I think about that too. What was the wind patterns like that night? Like, was something dispersed and then it wafted into the wrong direction? And then you have to start thinking, from which point of origin was that something dispersed? Was it like a pepper spray, a bear spray, something like that? Who the hell knows? Chemical burn, though. First thing I thought about was pepper spray or some kind of tear gas. It would have to be like unnoticeable to the eye. It's not like everybody's like, what the hell's all this smoke all of a sudden? It's nuts. It really is. Okay, here's another one. Now this is the big one I wanted to talk about. We'll probably take up the whole second half of this first hour, and then we'll open up lines on it in the second. And let me also just say before we get started, I want to give a big hat tip. Before I go any further, a hat tip to the sleuths in the Quite Frankly Gilded chat. Like, I believe, especially back then, it was like AK and Casey and Katie and a few other people there, too. I think maybe John Otter, and I forgot who else was back there in February of this year on the Diddy situation. When the Puffy story just started getting big, most of those notes are back in tonight's format because Jonathan Oddi is suddenly getting attention. And the kind of attention that he wasn't getting before. I mean, just like I said, big engagement accounts are paying attention to just finding him right now. So it's probably a good reason for us to go and do a little bit of a review, especially since these are fresh headlines. Here's the headline from the New York Post from last night. Diddy, as bad as Epstein, says officer who saw his sex rooms, hidden cameras during Miami mansion raid. As bad as Epstein, huh? Is this guy from the FBI? Then he would know. Sordid news details have emerged for the so-called sex rooms that Sean Diddy Combs allegedly kept in his Miami mansion, filled with sex toys, bondage gear, hidden cameras, and lingerie, according to a federal source who said the disgraced rapper was as bad as Epstein. Okay, to a federal source, which they would know just how bad Epstein was because they were Epstein's partners. One of the Department of Homeland Security agents who helped raid Diddy's Florida abode came to that music mogul had rooms were clearly dedicated to sex with cameras all around. If you were in those sex parties, you were being recorded from every possible angle, including angles you wouldn't have even known about. It's worse than an Airbnb. Referring to the sometimes days-long orgies, goes without saying, at least the first half of this show, the kids should just go into the playroom and build blocks or something like that. Get the hell out of here. Uncle Frank has to talk to your parents or your grandparents, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins. Get out. Get out. I'll tell you when to come back. So if you were in those sex parties, you were being recorded. referring to sometimes days-long orgies called freak-offs. You guys ever been to a freak-off before? Lord knows I have. Where drugged-up victims were allegedly forced to have sex with male prostitutes. Oh, no, I have not done that. Sorry, I didn't read that far. I have not been to any freak-offs. Shit. Oh, there he is. There's the head honcho, right? In my opinion, he's as bad as Jeffrey Epstein, the source said. These women are young, barely legal, or barely illegal. Internally, officers said that they see a lot of similarities between Combs and Epstein, the well-connected financier who served time for trafficking dozens of young girls in New York and Florida. Don't forget New Mexico. New York, Florida, New Mexico, the Caribbean. The FBI had it all together in a little operation that they called Leap Year that went right out the window when somebody higher than most gave them a call and said, bury this and give him 13 months of time in his home. But he can still leave for work. He just has to come home house arrest. He has to sleep at home at night. On Tuesday, Combs was slapped with federal sex trafficking racketeering charges. According to bombshell indictment, he allegedly coerced his female victims into days-long sessions as part of his alleged pattern of abuse dating back more than a decade. More than a decade. It alleges that women, some of whom were still teenagers, were coerced into freak-off sessions with male prostitutes and were often recorded while music producer diddied himself. Well, that goes right into the Cassie lawsuit as well, and into what Jonathan Oddi was talking about. And that's why we brought him up. Because a lot of what he was saying, that people thought was just the ravings of a madman in 2018, though it's just the kind of thing that would make our ears perk up back then. That was it suddenly made a lot of the things that were in the lawsuit that came out earlier on this year really, really plausible. It corroborated it directly, to be honest. But that's what we have. If you want to watch the original broadcast, it was on Friday, May 1st. It was called Puff Daddy's Playhouse. But it was when the Cassie lawsuit came out, we spent this guy, Jonathan Oddi, the South African male escort, who shot up the inside of a Trump hotel in 2018. He didn't shoot anybody. He went into the hotel, had an American flag, put the American flag on the desk, and popped a couple of shots into the ceiling, and then waited to become arrested. And then when he was brought in, he just used that as an opportunity to put everything he knows about the world on the record with the officers who were handling his case. And he gave some pretty extreme testimony, including about what was driving him to do it, the danger that Trump was facing as president going into the next few years, and what the outer facade of Diddy and the hip hop industry was masking. Far more than that. It was pretty much, it was like the Departed, the movie The Departed times 10. But what makes it far more interesting is that now, all these years later, these lawsuits, especially the Cassie one, it lines up pretty damn good on everything. So we can go through a couple of timestamps that I had from back then. We don't have to do all of them because now people are compiling all of the most juicy parts of this interview, and they're putting it into threads here and there. He pretty much goes into how Diddy is in the Boule, which is apparently the black Illuminati, the black wing of the Illuminati, but more so gatekeepers. You know, they're in there to be shepherds of black culture and all that stuff that really kicks up still to higher levels of Illuminati hierarchy. Okay, so pretty much gatekeepers. I mean, all this ties into what Cat Williams was going into this year, too. Don't forget about Cat Williams. Don't forget about that. He goes on to talk about how a select few run the country. Nothing too out of the ordinary for us. Goes right into satanic ritual abuse. He goes off on the Clintons, the Obamas, even Trump a little bit. The royal family. He brings up Diddy's attorney, Mark Garagos, a lot, which is verified true. Mentions the Illuminati card game and how this game that they play to pre-program people. There's a lot of that in there too. Talks about Hamas. Says that DJ Khaled was a Hamas supporter, which, I don't know, like 20% of the country is a Hamas supporter, so whatever. There's a lot there. He claims that Geragos contacted the CIA, the FBI, the Secret Service to follow him, that Ciroc vodka was a front. It was a front for a countrywide drug trafficking operation. That a lot of the planes that these rap artists use to either get around to tour or whatever the hell else, they actually double as drug running planes, and that's just what it is. And you know that goes into a lot of other things there too, because an operation at that size, especially in the Western Hemisphere, Central and South America, you're not doing any significant drug running without the partnership of certain three-letter agencies. You're not doing it. I say it's the Departed times 10. This is what I'm talking about. And again, these are patterns that we should recognize. So when people say he's just like Epstein, it's not the Netflix version of Epstein where he's just this incredibly rich pedophile financier who everybody was just so scared of, and he would just wiggle away, and then finally his number came up and justice was served, and he was such a coward he killed himself before he can really serve his punishment out. That's the Netflix version of Jeffrey Epstein. But, you know, we see things, it's pretty night and day at this point. Oddi went into the hate agenda that's been promoted against Trump because they want him out of government and all that stuff. That he talked about the drugs that he uses, that Cassie uses, that Diddy spikes Ciroc bottles, the bottles of vodka. He actually spikes them, hands them out to models that come to hang out with him for, I guess, these freak-offs and others on yachts. And this has been corroborated by two separate women suing Diddy that we read about back in the winters, who claimed that they were given drinks that were spiked and afterwards lost consciousness and they were assaulted. So that's all in this. That's all in this. Claims that Diddy, Rick Ross, DJ Khaled are all gay. If they started that way, who knows? They ended up that way. I'll get into that in a little while too. Let's see here. Hip hop agenda is promoted by intelligence agencies because they want to move drugs in the U.S. You know, that was one thing I wanted to do after we did this show back in March. I wanted to revisit that long circulated letter about the hip hop meeting, the secret hip hop meeting of like 1993, which a lot of people were on the fence about whether it was real, whether it wasn't, all the reasons why it sounds like a LARP and all that stuff. But man, oh man, if it was a LARP, it was very, very intuitive. Maybe I'll dig that up tomorrow for Matt. It's been a long time since we read through that. It's almost like the Deagle website. It's like every once in a while, I like going back to the hip hop meeting of 1993 story, and also want to read through the old screenshots of the Deagle website. See how they say that 77% of the population is going to be gone by next year. I wonder what the hell is going to happen. Anyway, let's see here. He wanted to say that Stormy Daniels was on assignment. That what she's doing right now, she was on assignment to run her mouth in the media by the same Hollywood lawyers, namely Mark Geragos, who he mentioned earlier in the interrogation, that Chris Brown, Kesha, Puff Daddy, Winona Ryder, Michael Jackson, they were all pretty much handled by this one lawyer, and that these are the same types of people who had a very, very powerful hand in influencing the direction of Michael Jackson's end of life, if you know what I mean. So he went through a lot, this Jonathan Oddi guy. I mean, anyone who's taking drugs and acting as a sex slave in that kind of a capacity for A-listers, they're having their minds broken in one way or another. I mean, Kanye, every so often when he would act out, he'd start talking about being in that sunken place. This is the sunken place. That's it. All right? When we learn about defense intelligence personal trainer handlers that someone like Kanye had, like that Harley Pasternak guy, this is just the way it is. You know, Britney Spears, these people, they have moments of clarity and then they get pulled back into the fractal programming. That's what. Now, whether or not I haven't heard anything about or from Jonathan Oddi since 2018. Maybe I haven't been looking hard enough, and I wasn't even pulled this close to the detail of it until everybody started sleuthing on the subject in the Gilded chat back in February. But yeah, man, I mean, this is here's a little bit. What is this? What is it? What is the timestamp on this one? I got number. I don't know. It's around 5 minutes. I think this might be about the Illuminati. Take a listen to this.
Okay. They've made it in dance. Basically, what it means, illuminated.
I got you.
Okay. They do satanic ritual abuse, which is basically CIA mind programming techniques to their own family, kids, etc. They're on the crew, and they bond that way. Okay, so they do sexual pedophilia, they do animal abuse, killing of animals, blood sacrifices, and everything in the Bohemian Grove. Okay,
right.
The Bohemian Grove, the Bushes go there. George C. and George, both of them are in the same agenda. They cousins with the Clintons. Okay, so is Donald Trump. He's also a distant cousin. So if you see, there's a direct correlation of the presence of the United States being bonded between family ties, okay?
He's going, that's what I'm saying. There's some things he wanders off. Like you've read that 6 Degrees of Separation, that in so many ways, every president of the United States is almost like a distant cousin from another one. I forget it. It was so many years ago when that came out. I think a school child put that together. But he goes off into those things. Here's another one. I think I had it around 13. This is around this. I think he's talking about his motivation for going in there and trying to get arrested.
To the American public for the crimes committed on September 11th, 2001, and therefore. Okay?
Now tell me though how all of that led up to Thursday night, Friday morning.
Well, I've been trying. My settlement put me in a box. Basically, I couldn't talk because I was going to be sued. So I let it be, but they've been following me, and they've had, Mark Garrett has had the FBI on me, has had other agencies looking at me and spying on me, okay, because they want to set me up as an extortionist. Like if I was extorting Sean for money. It's wrong. Basically what happened is Diddy and Ross, which they're good buddies, okay, they're gay.
Who?
Both. Diddy and Ross. And Khaled. They're all gay, okay?
DJ Khaled, Rick Ross,
yeah.
and P. Diddy?
Yeah.
They all gay?
Yeah.
Got you. All right.
Khaled is a Hamas supporter. Okay?
Who supporter?
He goes into Hamas. Anyway, so why he was under some kind of a gag order, or there was a deal that was made. He was forced into. He couldn't say anything, or else he'd be sued. So as he's expressing here, he felt like the best way of kind of like freeing himself up and giving him a place to kind of vent and put this all on the table was to, cause a scene, try to get Trump's attention, the American flag, a firearm in one of his lobbies there in, I think, the Doral Resorts or something like that, and away he went. Now, with the drug smuggling, again, think of The Departed. This isn't a side business. It's not a side business. On this planet, you can only move narcotics, especially in the ways that he's describing, if you've made a partnership. Okay? You gotta have exclusive rights. So it would make sense that Oddi would be surveilled in that case. But as I asked back in March, was this Jonathan Oddi's moment of clarity? Is it mixed with delusion? Are there some pieces that are falling apart? Obviously, he's in a very stressful situation. Is it all bullshit? Well, the Cassie lawsuit back over the winter, this last winter, eliminates the possibility that it's all bullshit. Had a possibility, you throw that right out the window, which begs the question, is it all true? Okay? Because I'm telling you, this kind of guy right here is like a stray hair that ruins a perfect photo shoot. You know? It's that one crazy strand of hair that makes you think, well, something's out of place. Jonathan Oddi is building 7 in this story. All right? He's building 7. Now, as far as the house being rigged with cameras, classic honeypotting, you know, Jeffrey Epstein, the Playboy Mansion, Hugh Hefner. It's been done a lot. You know, people like Jeffrey Epstein, they put the hooks into heads of state, captains of industry. It makes perfect sense that people like, you know, Puffy were handling the grooming of multiple generations of entertainers and whatever. That pattern should be easily identifiable now. As far as the gay aspect, it's not really shocking to me either. But naturally, because you want to talk about the whole bonding and the blackmail thing, naturally this prompts some people on the internet in the comment sections to try to separate all the elements of the story and keep things politically correct and categorized. They'll say things like, well, the gay stuff doesn't bother me. It's the abuse that bothers me. It's like, okay, all right. Come on now. Stay with me. I know if all things are left alone, about 2% of the population would go gay for one reason or another. But there is a hierarchical grooming culture here that is the farthest thing from natural. Okay? We see that grooming going on in schools. We see it all throughout pop culture and all that stuff. And behind the facing of the clock where the gears really grind, that's what's going on there too. It is used as a tool. It's a weapon. Okay? I'm not saying it's just one of those things you have to just identify and try to be dispassionate about it. Like Cat Williams, he brought it up again earlier on in the year when he went on Joe Rogan. Was that before or after Shannon Sharp? I forget. That sort of ritualistic aspect of homosexuality. He brought up the wearing of dresses in Hollywood, the crossover from, you know, just the ritualistic crossover from natural states of being. That's the issue here, okay? Into an upside down world of inverses. That doesn't mean that every, you know, gay person is an evil plant of the state, but there is an operation that's being run out there to groom people into alternative ways of behaving. And that is outside of what is naturally seen for one reason or another. Okay? There is a crossover aspect to this. He talks about the cross-dressing, the transgenderism, especially Cat Williams did too, but I don't know. There's a lot. This was a big one. It really, really was a big topic to crack open. And I want to hear what you guys and gals have to say about it. We'll take some more of your opinions on the other side of the intermission. But that was a lot, and it's happening now too. Now, how much more do you think is going to go from this? Because you think about someone like a Puff Daddy or a Harvey Weinstein, and you get tricked into thinking, well, that's the. I mean, if you're living in the normie world, you're thinking, well, that's like A++. Very hard to get higher than that, and you almost think, wow, even the powerful fall sometimes. You don't really consider that these guys are just middle managers, no matter how many billions of dollars they're allowed to make and what kind of autonomy and influence they have within that network over the course of a time. And then no matter what, you know, what kind of dues are paid and all that, that's something else altogether. So let's talk about this. I'm going to go on a really quick break. When we come back on the other side, 914-200-0269. I'm just going to talk about this. We'll get a lot of that on the table. Maybe we'll dip into what's going on with Lebanon with the exploding handheld devices, and we'll bring it all together. I want calls coming in. It's just me over here, which means you got to pick up your phone and join me. And there's many thousands of you that are watching live from across like over a half a dozen websites, and it's a talk show. So call up and talk. So I'm not just talking to myself. We will be right back in about 90 seconds. Don't go anywhere. Hey, want to start your day fresh and stimulate your taste buds at the same time? Try the Quite Frankly Elevation Blend Coffee, brought to you by the Coffee Revolution in Davenport, Iowa. An uplifting mix of Ethiopian, Mexican, and Peruvian estate beans and roasted to first crack. Guaranteed to have you coming back for more. And as if you needed more reason to enjoy a fresh pot, did you know that healthy consumption of caffeine has been linked with longevity, lower risk of cardiovascular disease, boosts progesterone, increases in thyroid function, increases in metabolism, mood, and even testosterone after working out? And here's some free advice. Upon waking, drink at least 12 ounces of water with some sea salt. This will leave you hydrated and energized, and then an hour later, have your first cup of Quite Frankly Elevation Blend Coffee. You will feel like moving mountains and making babies. So choose a smooth, organic light roast with my stupid face on the bag to inject some life into your daily routine. Quite Frankly, Elevation Blend Coffee is linked at the affiliates page on quitefrankly.tv.
It's intermission time, folks. Time out to press the like button. Thank you.
Welcome to Intermission. Yeah, intermission.
You are now entering, quite frankly.
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 Quite frankly, guys.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly.
Quite frankly. So everybody watch. Quite frankly. With Frank.
For you.
I saw not too long ago that Nike CEO John Donahoe is stepping down now too. Whenever something like this happens, and there's always a rash of resignations and things like that, it makes you wonder. It makes a lot of people wonder, is this all connected? Are they just trying to insulate themselves? Are they circling the wagon? They want to be out of the public eye? Been a couple of music CEOs kind of like jump the gun, get the hell out of town, get out of Dodge. All right, give me a call, 914-200-0269. I'm also going to be reading your super chats throughout the second half. I would love to do that. The Rumble Rants, the Gold Pills, quitefranklysuperchat.com. Let's start on quitefrankly.tv. Always have a wonderful group of people over there supporting the show on Pilled. Doug Simmy, thank you so much. Garden Girl, thank you. Cave Toad says, in my honest opinion, Diddy is still meant to be a distraction from the real problems going on in this country. Well, I mean, then Jeffrey Epstein was a distraction from the real problems in the country too. It's just to say that, okay, well, here's a story that has depth, but we're not going to the depth it should. It's one thing to say this story's not being handled right. It connects to so many other ones, and it is, but it's a distraction. Okay, what are we supposed to be paying attention to? And what happens when we put all of our attention on those things? What? So I understand that whenever we read a story, there's always somebody saying it's a distraction. Well, just tell me where we should put our attention that some greater result happens the next day after the attention is paid. Because this looks like it plugs into the puzzle, the 5,000-piece puzzle pretty well. So why not pull over a little bit and talk about it? Delona says some suspect UV lights were used instead of regular sun poisoning is wait. Some suspect that UV lights were used in Tucson instead of regular lights. So sun poisoning is scary stuff. So was this a concentration of UV lights just on these people? Was there a vendetta? Was it just that there was this one lamp that happened to be there? And would that be something that would result in what would seem to be chemical burns? If that's the case, it would be a total mistake, because if you're using directed energy weapons like some kind of a UV lamp to get people, then why wouldn't you target Trump? So it must have just been a mistake. The whole thing was just a misunderstanding. Cave Toad says, in my opinion, they're getting rid of the old guard, Diddy, Epstein, and clearing the way for new unknown ones. So then that wouldn't be a distraction. That would actually be a happening. Something to take note of. Something that the new historians need to be able to very successfully and clearly plot out these things chronologically. Doug Simi, thank you so much. Paulie9363. It's great to have you guys around. It really is. Jay Semo on Rumble just said, well, Diddy Epstein himself? Just saying. I don't know. I really don't know. I really, really don't know. Let's take a call. Hey, Christy Grace, welcome back to the show. What's on your mind tonight?
Frank, how's it going?
Oh, it's going. Hold on. Where the hell is that music coming from? There it is. Go ahead.
I have a thought, and I liked your thought about what could have happened at that rally with the people's eyes burning.
Okay, this is great, because now we have somebody that's actually a scientist, and maybe this will make sense to me.
All right, so we know that, like, how many people suffered, and what did they had eye burns, correct, and blurry vision.
Blurry vision, about 20 people.
Did any of them have anything with the nose or throat, or was it just the eyes?
I can go back and read a little bit more, but I just remember blurry vision and temporary blindness.
So odd, because I was thinking about the chlorine gas, and they would have smelled that.
Right, definitely.
And then you're talking about the lamps possibly, but nitrogen dioxide can cause eye irritation and burning, and it's odorless.
Now, here's the thing. If they were somehow able to disperse nitrogen dioxide or anything that fits the bill that's odorless, if they were able to disperse this without anybody knowing about it at the rally, and it got into these people's faces and all that stuff, would it be a timed release thing where they would feel it 30 minutes after they left the rally, or would it be something that you start feeling almost immediately? That's the big thing there, that there's a delay in becoming symptomatic.
That I didn't know, so my comments might be BS and not relevant.
No,
which is okay. So I didn't know that it had developed later, because it can cause eye burns and blurring of the vision.
Yes.
And it was just interesting to me that no one said I could smell something like a swimming pool.
Okay, yeah, I didn't see that. Blurred vision and burning to the eyes, and as many as 20 were affected. And let's see here. An attendee, Myra Rodriguez, Planned Parenthood whistleblower, shared a similar experience, explaining that just 30 minutes after leaving the rally, she was unable to open her eyes due to extreme burning. So there was almost like a timed release aspect of this whole thing there too that has to be considered.
Wow.
Yeah, it's strange. Very strange. And everybody that was treating them in the emergency rooms kept asking, are you sure you weren't sprayed with something? Because it was all consistent with chemical burns. Very strange.
Because and you were curious if it was coming from like one of the stage lights, right? Like a photochemical.
That's what somebody in the chat room just said, that I guess that there are some people who are considering that it may be a certain kind of UV light. Then there's the whole question of intent. Was it just a mistake or whatever? Was it not aimed properly? I don't know.
Well, that gets into like stage lights and oh my gosh, I know sometimes they'll use coatings, but not always.
Well, now that you got a little bit more, now you have a little bit more to work with. Let me know what you find, okay?
I'm curious, so I will look up. Yeah, I'm sure there's other people on it too, and I wasn't there directly, but no one mentioned smelling anything, and you would have, think that someone would mention smelling something.
Right. I have not seen that in any of your reports.
Burning eyes, and they're looking at the stage. Yep. Because you can hazer, because there's like oil-based hazers, they're called, can be used on stage lighting. And that when you said stage lights, I just thought, holy cow, like there's something on one of the stage lights.
Well,
because it was just those people, but wasn't in the air. So you might be onto something, or your audience. The audience, right?
There's nothing. There's nothing but questions out there. But if you find anything along the way, please give us an update. And I appreciate your call, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for everything you're doing on your show.
Well, thank you for spending time with us. It's always good to be kept company by some good friends. And here I have another one over here from Cave Toad. What's going on, Cave Toad?
Hey, Frank. How's it going?
It's going all right.
Let me turn off the stream here.
Yep.
So I wanted to clarify, because I meant as distraction is, they really aren't digging much into the second assassination attempt and all the ties to Ukraine and the ties between him and the first shooter and other things that are coming out. So by putting a Diddy arrest in the mainstream news is really a way to kind of get all that pushed away. And, the coincidences of the first shooter, which probably was the other guy they talk about, and this new guy, both being in BlackRock commercials, etc., the Anons and autists have dug all this stuff up and grabbed it before they could erase it. So that was kind of my point as far as the distraction. Well, let's get everybody talking about something else.
Well, and here's a counterpoint. If the Anons are going to have a little bit of a more craftier time of getting to the a much larger audience then, because it's not like people who are reading all those threads, who are following these our corner of the internet for all of the investigating that's going on, that's not happening inside of DC. It's not like we are easily distracted. We're able to process multiple stories at once. So it's not the people who are looking at this and are really going to be distracted by it are the ones who, like I said, subscribe to the Netflix version story of the Epstein story, that the Epstein case, the Netflix version of the Epstein case. That is who is really aloof anyway. So people.
No, and I absolutely agree. I really do. And
that's all I'm saying. We have more than enough. We have more than enough brain cells to follow 3 stories at once, and we can do it.
Yeah, but I get that. So I didn't mean offense to you for that, but I think overall, where some of that could have filtered up to the more mainstream media and conversations by throwing out the Diddy thing, it's enough to kind of keep that all down a little bit, and let's have everybody talk about this. Now, I am not belittling the importance of Diddy and Epstein and all those things being relevant, and I really think it is an important story, and there's a lot of people, millions of people that are getting aware of the pedophile, satanic, Illuminati, whatever you might want to call it, factor for rich people, politicians, and pedophiles whatever, combo platter, however anybody wants to do that. But, you know, there's still other important things going on, too. So people can't, well, like you said, people can't, the general NPC can't concentrate on all these different things.
Well, they're not watching the show. They're not watching. They're not watching the show.
Yeah, of course not. They should be, but of course they aren't. And you know, it is a bit of a show. And I see what you're saying. I wasn't complaining about the show.
I get you. I understand, and I didn't take offense. I was just, you know, the whole distraction conversation actually becomes a little bit of a distraction, I think, after a while. But I understand.
Yeah, true. Irony, huh?
Oh, yeah. It's like the Russian doll effect. It's just one thing into itself, and whereas one side. Thank you for the call, Cave Toad. I want to take a few more.
Well, you know, and thank you to keep up the great work, man. I appreciate it.
Well, do you have anything that you want to actually, you know, did you pull away from this an actual theory, a thought on everything I presented, the half hour's worth of talking I did?
Well, you know, I think the Diddy stuff is all legit, and I think it's important and it matters. But I still think what's getting lost in the weeds is the ties between the second guy and the first guy, for like donations, money sent to each other. And the guy that was supposedly poor had a wife in Hawaii, but making trips between Hawaii and North Carolina, and Ukraine and all that stuff. I think all those ties are important too.
Right.
So we have to look at it. We have to keep in mind. You know, I think by using the gun they claim the guy used in SKS and stuff like that.
We're talking about the assassination again?
Yeah, we're back to the assassination.
Okay.
And the gun the guy used and how he set himself up.
I get you.
It's kind of weak. Were they going to use it for extra gun control, for extra
I don't, you know, Cave Toad,
or whatever?
All right, well, Cave Toad.
That's another conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the 5 other conversations. Thank you for the call. I understand what you're saying, and, you know, first attempt was, I guess, distracted away from by the second attempt, and 5 attempts from now they'll be considered distractions away from the first 4. It's just where we are, and I don't think anybody. The whole thing here is that if you talk to somebody who looks at what happened in Butler, Pennsylvania, and believes the whoopsie official story, that whole thing, then, I mean, they're not people who are watching this show. And you want to talk about distraction, it's literally dangling a rattle in front of a baby at that point. You can't save people. You can't influence people like that. When I do shows like this, it's obviously meant for a very specific type of audience that can juggle a few things at once, because there is a question as to why now. Now, obviously, back over the winter, Cassie, that whole lawsuit, I mean, that's dictated by her. There's sometimes that you just have a situation where a person they become a liability and they just do themselves in. That's exactly what it comes down to sometimes. I mean, when you think about where we were last year, I mean, I don't know. It's when you see these people get flushed, I should say, it's a reminder to me that somewhere along the line you have outlived your usefulness, and that you always knew getting into this life that there may be a day where you get it. Almost like when you're, La Cosa Nostra or something like that. There's a lot of dues to be paid. There's a lot of peanut butter to be licked. And membership comes with its privileges, no doubt. But Puffy, Epstein, they became liabilities. Eventually, the parties, the privilege, the access that they believe that they can do literally everything, there's going to be people along the way that you hurt very, very badly that you can't, unless you kill them, they can really cause a lot of trouble for you. Cassie's one of them. Jonathan Oddi's another. I mean, these are like Building 7 moments there. And at that point, when you bring that kind of attention to yourself, Nobody's going to flood to your defense when what you have done is indefensible and there's too much stacked against you. Nobody's going to flood to your defense, just like Epstein. Okay, so we are seeing a guy who has been isolated, probably just by the abuse of whatever kind of autonomous power that has been given to him inside of that very powerful circle. But it just goes to show that there's always a bigger fish. So I guess that's why I thought it was a story worth talking about tonight, because it's coming back up, and whether that how that ties into the assassination attempts and all that other stuff, I don't know. I mean, Oddi seemed to think that Donald Trump was in a lot of trouble, and obviously he is. And yeah, there's definitely a lot going on in there, and we've talked about it for, if you think about all the nights that we dedicated just to what happened on Butler, it's been weeks of broadcasting on that one night alone. So, along the way, we divvy it up. Hey, let's take a call here. James, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, Frank, Chris in the Berkshires. How are you?
Hey, Chris, go ahead.
So I think for me, a lot of this comes down to, I hate to go to Q, right? But Q, if I recall correctly, said names like Maxwell and Epstein aren't necessarily household names, right? You can make the case, I don't think we would believe it, but to a normal head in their sand individual, that those two worked individually, right? They worked as a group, as a team, right?
Yeah, they're essentially department heads at the same models.
Exactly. They're their own business. They're their own brand. We knew they were shady, but we didn't know exactly.
That's a better way of saying it. They're branch managers. Yes.
Yeah. So with Puffy or Diddy or Sean or whatever the hell you want to call them, look at the circle that this guy runs with. This is someone. They're not gonna. They're gonna do everything they can to spin it and say, well, Jay-Z or whoever or Lady Gaga had no idea that this was going on, when they're all running the same party. And they're all going to the same parties. They're all doing the same crap, and for someone to sit there and say, I think it's tough to associate Puffy with say, like I said, a Snoop Dogg or whatever, there's no way that they're going to be able to sit there and say, okay. And I think there's a lot of people that are starting to look at this and say, wait a minute, this is a bigger problem than we actually think that we have going on. We understand that Hollywood and these elite type of parties, they're strange. But like I said, to the normal head in their sand, news watcher, they don't think anything suspicious of what these people are doing and the power that they have and all this stuff. And I mean, it's, and if you want to break into that world, think of things that, they probably did, to R. Kelly, right? What did R. Kelly do to so many young girls, and they wanted to break into that world? Well, you got to pay the piper, right?
Yeah.
And that's basically what they're doing. And I mean, we all understand what music can do to a culture. I mean, I think as someone who enjoys the Grateful Dead, they were able to pull people who were just regular kids living on a dream and essentially turn them into a drug culture. Well, they did the same thing with African-American music. It used to be basically a rhyme storytelling thing, and then Scarface comes around and Tupac and Biggie come around, and what are they now talking about? Bone Thugs and Harmony. And all of a sudden that culture is no longer there. It's now about gangbanging and selling drugs and doing everything. Music itself is an incredible power, and I look at what's happening to other music in general. Country music used to be about farms and God and country and love. And you have certain characters that are out there now, and it's almost kind of like a drink beer and hang out and party, and that's it, and it's for someone who looks at it in a different way, it's almost kind of obvious of what's happening. They're attempting to take over that culture and go that route. But, ultimately, I think when you start to bring bigger names in like Puffy, more people are going to have to take a look at it and say, all right, something weird's going on here, and he wasn't just running by himself. He was a popular mogul that set so many people up for, and I hate to say the word success, but popularity in the world of music. You wanted to go through and make records, you probably had to go through him, and what did he make you do?
Chris, there's great points. You're making great points, and it's true. Now, I do believe that there is probably some level still deeper. You want to talk about the Russian doll effect, the smaller doll inside the smaller doll, until you get to the real core of the issue. I'm pretty sure that there's still a lot of compartmentalization just for plausible deniability purposes. I'm sure anybody that has been in the industry for anywhere between 20 to 40 years has heard about just how wild, just how sadistic some of the inner circle parties can be, or the kind of things you have to give up to work on a certain kind of an album. I mean, there was more that came out of this Puffy story from over the winter of just engineers who were being sexually harassed, male engineers who were being homosexually harassed into giving in to that kind of stuff. And you think about that, how widespread that could be, and who gets the pass made at them, and who is kept in the dark, so that there's just at least somebody out there that can honestly say, well, I've been in the business for 50 years and I haven't seen anything like that. I've heard rumors, but I don't think it's a pervasive culture. There's probably so many levels of buffer levels and compartmentalization that goes into that. It's just like any other government.
Right. And I mean, to cap it off, think about some of the parties that, made a record early, right, was popular. And I'm not throwing any directional point at anything, but think about CeeLo Green, right? CeeLo Green had that one song back in the early 90s. It was I Wish, I'm sure you might remember it. We're probably about the same age, I wish I was a little bit taller, however it went. And then he goes away for 15, 20 years. And then out of nowhere, this guy is now a pop sensation. Like, what did he have to do? What paycheck did you have to cash to all of a sudden go from being somebody who had a hit to being basically left out of it to coming, now you're back into it, especially to run in those types of circles, if you know what I'm saying.
Well,
and that's
it's
not a sideways deal.
There is one other thing there, and thank you for the call, my friend. It's a great call. Is that there is also, it's like the affirmative action situation there, where there is always the possibility that somebody just had luck at one point, they went on a dry spell, then all of a sudden they struck gold again. And because of how jaded we are about how the world works and how a specific industry works, and we hear about the casting couch and we hear about everything else, it's just hard to believe that stuff can happen naturally. But if it happened once before, you definitely have all the right contacts. You can say, hey, I got a really great song over here again. You think you can get me back on the charts, and then you pull the right strings, and maybe you don't have to trade sex for it. I'm sure all types of legitimate things still happen in the music industry, but we're jaded over here. We're very, very jaded. That's just the way it is. But there is no doubt an aspect of pay to play that goes on, grooming, and it becomes a major tool of grooming a society. Like we were saying before, with the implicit nature of homosexuality and homosexual acts in these types of these stories. When you get down to the nitty gritty, getting a man to accept another man sexually seems like a pretty powerful act in the way that it is fundamentally transformative. They don't want to do it. They feel like there's incredible, like life. If they feel like their life is on the line, it's like this is the only way to get out of this room, and you got a whole other level of problems afterwards because it's on tape. It's the life you want. These are the people that you think that you can hang with for the rest of your life. You're okay with making it. I don't know why people make that decision, but you think about how transformative that is. You remember the transcripts from the what's his name? John Travolta, the masseuse. You guys remember the transcripts from the masseuse with John Travolta? When he was talking about how, he's trying to get this male masseuse to fool around with him. That is a hilarious. I mean, it's a disturbing, but it's also hilarious. I still make jokes about that transcript with my friends sometimes. But it's also disturbing and very enlightening. Like he actually said, this is very, very graphic, ladies and gentlemen, so make sure the kids are out of here. But at somewhere along the line in that transcript, he actually is telling the masseuse, like giving him some inside baseball about things, about his, his sexual appetites and all that stuff, and about, trading, a handy for a blowy or whatever the hell it is. And he said, how do you think I got the gig on Cotter? How do you think I got the gig on Welcome Back, Cotter? And he actually said somewhere in that I know it happened. He said, or at least that's what the other guy swore in affidavit that it happened, that you do it enough, you start developing a taste for it or something like that. Okay? So as far as transformative goes, you think about how this kind of stuff gets flung onto one person, and then you think about how the music industry is recruited along with American education, Common Core, what we see going on with all these special interest groups getting into the classrooms, like what we were talking about with Dr. Sean Brooks the other night. It is from there projected onto the culture at large. You want to talk about transformative. I mean, you want to wonder why, as we track everything from the silent generation to Generation Z, we went from less than 2% people who are identifying as LGBT to now 30% in Gen Z. That's not nature. It's not screening and social acceptance. We were under 4% of the country was gay in 1995, and social acceptance was we were post-racial, we were post-sexual, whatever the hell it was. We were there, man. We really were. We really were. This is far beyond nature. Okay, and these industries have a very big part to play in that transformative aspect of it all. It's just the way it is. I got an email over here that just came in from Velez, Rogue News. He said, "Hi, Frank. I caught the post on X. I'm on the road this week on the West Coast, but about the guy in jail being asked about Diddy. You're familiar with the Paul Mooney comedy bit that he did about why Oprah and Whoopi Goldberg had a falling out. He claimed it was due to Whoopi Goldberg becoming aware of Oprah being involved in Boulé. That's the black wing of the Illuminati. Oh, well, I mean, if Oprah is involved in that, Whoopi's not some low IQ shepherd, media shepherd and gatekeeper. Who the hell is a Whoopi representing? Well, I get you. Okay, it's a Paul Mooney bit. So he made it more. It's made all more ironic given the recent events with questions asked about P. Diddy relationship with Oprah. Oh yeah, and that's all the best, Velez. Thank you, V. It also makes you rethink the Chrissy Teigen comments. You guys remember that? Chrissy Teigen and John Legend, they're being asked a very candid question about the most scandalous public place that they've ever had sex. And Chrissy Teigen, much to John Legend's dismay, you can see it on his face, "Shut up, you ass." Chrissy Teigen said, probably the Obama thing. You remember that? The Obama thing. Oh, I wonder how many Obama things there were. I wonder. Let's take a really quick break. When we come back, we're going to take your calls, 914-200-0269. Bring your best theory. Bring whatever the hell you have. We have about a half hour left together, and I want to soak it all up.
The shopping cart is the ultimate litmus test for whether a person is capable of self-governing. To return the shopping cart is an easy, convenient task, and one which we all recognize as the correct, appropriate thing to do. To return the shopping cart is objectively right. There are no situations other than dire emergencies in which a person is not able to return their cart. Simultaneously, it is not illegal to abandon your shopping cart. Therefore, the shopping cart presents itself as the apex example of whether a person will do what is right without being forced to do it. No one will punish you for not returning the shopping cart. No one will fine you or kill you for not returning the shopping cart. You gain nothing by returning the shopping cart. You must return the shopping cart out of the goodness of your own heart. You must return the shopping cart because it is the right thing to do, because it is correct. A person who is unable to do this is no better than an animal, an absolute savage who can only be made to do what is right by threatening them with a law and the force that stands behind it. The shopping cart is what determines whether a person is a good or bad member of society.
That's not where the cart goes, my friend.
I got you, boss. Put it away. Where does it go? Over there?
In the cart return. Where else? You see the cart return?
Yeah.
That's where the carts go.
I got you, man.
In my country, it's very disrespectful to leave the carts. You don't know whose car is going to hit.
I tried to put it away.
I didn't see you. Try. There you go. That's how we do it.
Got you, man. Hey, you have a good one.
You too, man. That's not where the cart goes. That's not where the cart goes. There's a cart right there. You don't want to hit it. No, there's a cart. You left the cart over there. You see where you left the cart? That's not where it goes. That's not the cart return.
Okay. You know, why are you following me?
To make sure you put it in the... You don't need to give me an attitude.
Why are you... I'm gonna put it right here.
Yeah, you should have put it there in the first place without the attitude. It's ridiculous not putting cart back.
All right, let's take a call. Olga, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hey, actually, it's Peter.
Oh, Peter, how are you?
I'm doing good, Frank. I'm doing good.
That's
hey,
great.
I've got an idea. I was thinking about what happened with the eyes burning at the Trump rally.
Yeah, give it to me.
Yeah, I think it was intended for Trump himself, and I say that because the people that were on stage or within 10 feet, 20 feet of Trump, I think they're vetted differently than a normal crowd would be vetted, and you can't contaminate a higher level vetted crowd to mix with the others. So I think that they're able to enter the rally at a different area than the normal people that go to the rally, and they exit the same way. So leaving the rally, they go ahead and leave probably behind stage or one of the options that Trump uses. I don't think there's a lot. There's maybe 3 or 4. So being that it was that group of people, and it really didn't happen until after the rally and after they left, I think that they were trying to get Trump, and they didn't know which exit he was going to take, and they thought maybe he was going to take this exit, and it was intended for Trump.
Okay, so you think that specific exits were booby-trapped for after. That's why there seemed to be a delay, but it didn't happen at the actual rally. It was after the rally, and that's why people are getting exposed to something, and they're starting to feel it by the time they get to their cars.
Yeah, because the people that are on stage, they're vetted differently, so their entrance and exit is different from like the regular crowd. So they probably exited with one of the options that Trump was going to use, either like A, B, or C exit to go ahead and leave. And I think that was intended for Trump, but maybe at the last second, Trump took a different exit. This group took another exit, and then maybe it was a spray, maybe it was something, but I think it was intended specifically for Trump.
Okay. Well, hey, I would love to know a little bit more. I hope that we get some kind of a closure on this, because it's one thing to say, hey, was this intentional and who was it intended for? But it's another thing to actually get the key pieces here. What the hell made everybody feel this way? And then from there, maybe we can think about how it was even possible to disperse it. So we'll see if this is another one of those things. I feel like we always get the big headline, we get the big question mark, and then such a little resolution along the way. Who knows what we get?
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks for the call, man. This is a good one.
Yeah. Hey, thank you. All right. Bye.
Take care. Okay, so perhaps based on vetting. 720, you're on the air. What's going on?
Hey, this is Bob.
Bob.
And I'm a little older than you guys. I know what's going on with this whole movement here.
Okay. Go ahead. Hello?
Frank?
Yes?
Frank?
Yes, Bob.
My name's Bob.
Yes, please turn
I'm
off.
originally from...
I know. Turn off the stream. Pay attention to me.
It's off.
Okay, cool. Go ahead.
Okay. I was born in New York City, okay, 1952. And raised in the Bronx, right across the street from the old Yankee Stadium. Now, what's going on right now? Can you hear me?
Bob, are you all right?
Can you hear me now?
Bob, I've heard you the whole time. Which version?
Okay, all right. Anyway, if you go back in time and look up the Symbionese Liberation Army, okay, 1972, Patty Hearst.
Yes.
Okay, look at their logo and see what the logo says. They want a matriarchy. Okay, they kidnapped Patty Hearst, turned her to Tanya, and she went around robbing banks. I was there in LA when they busted them. Okay, it was on Wilshire Boulevard. There was a shootout, and they shot the guys. Where's Patty Hearst? They came to our room looking on the motels. Well, she wasn't there yet. She was gone. But anyway, if you look at that, the radical lesbians in Hollywood and the elites want a matriarchy. If you look at all the judges and all the DAs that are giving Trump a hard time, they're all women. Most of them. Okay. A lot of them are Zionist Jews, but most of them are women. This is a movement that's been going on for a long time. If you go back to Sugarloaf, Green-Eyed Lady, Layla, by Derek and the Dominoes, listen to the lyrics of those songs.
Okay.
They worship the feminine. And this is what they want. They want a matriarchy. That's why, patriarchy bad, matriarchy good.
Well, I think that we all can agree that we've been feeling the, and thank you for the call, Bob. I think we all can agree that we've felt the effects of the patriarchy's back being broken. And of course, the greatest patriarchy it was God in the home and at the head of the family. That's just really what it is. We actually had a pretty decently even keel society here, at least until the last 25, 30 years. Things really started going haywire, and now we're getting to the point where we're not. It's actually biting the feminists in the ass now, where they don't even want to legally. They don't even want any mention of mother or father. You know, that mother. We start. What was it last? It was 2 Mother's Days ago. Everybody started getting the same synchronized email from every corporate entity in the country. We just want to let you know, if you want to opt out from now, if you feel like you can be triggered by any kind of Mother's Day promotions, please let us know. I don't ever get any opt-out notices for LGBT month or whatever. But the word mother, the word father was very triggering for people apparently. And that's it's gotten to that degree now. It's gotten that degree. It's all about making every girl in the country a Rosie the Riveter. And it has not worked out to our advantage. It has not. It has not. It's actually just warped brains. 484, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Hello, it's AK.
Hey, AK. So, What's going on? Is there any theory? Now that we are 6-7 months ahead of time, we did all this back in March. You were one of those people that contributed a lot to the notes in March. Now that we're at this point where there are arrests being made, there are CEOs that are resigning, there's a whole bunch of shit going on, new layers to the story. What are you thinking?
Well, I just want to say I feel bad for Wendy Williams because she was the first person that called out Diddy back in the day. She said something about him being gay, like probably in like the early 2000s, and he called up her radio station and got her fired from there, and she had to leave New York and she had to come to Philadelphia, and I feel so bad for her because now she's not coherent, but she called it back then. And the Jonathan Oddi thing. So he was one of the first people who mentioned the laced drinks. And ever since all the lawsuits started coming out, all of them, like pretty much all of them, said something about the laced drinks or being given like a cocktail where they drank like half of it and they were just like gone, you know? Do you know who Lou Taylor is, by the way?
Lou Taylor? No.
Yeah. So, okay. So she is like the woman who, orchestrated Britney Spears to get into the conservatorship with like her father and stuff. So Lou Taylor, she's like, she's the manager of TriStar Entertainment, and she's just known overall just to be like just a terrible person. And so it was always her and this woman, Robin Green or Greenblatt or something like that, Robin Green. Anyways, this Robin lady, she's the one who was like writing a lot of the checks that were being paid out to people, like especially some of like the Diddy girlfriends, like Young Miami and 50 Cent's baby mama, like. So this Robin person who's involved with Lou Taylor, who is, involved in the whole conservatorship, like she tried to do it with other people too, like Lindsay Lohan and just other artists too, and Harley Pasternak. There's like a whole like group of people within the music industry. And I think that's like why a lot of the like CEOs might be resigning too. So I think there's some like somehow involved. And Diddy just like, he would always just hold like the fame over people's heads. So I think that's why a lot of the people just like kind of kept quiet for so long. But so this one, did you read the latest lawsuit that came out like this week from the one woman named Dawn Richard?
No.
She was in that Danity Kane, like when he did Making of the Band, and Aubrey O'Day was in that band. Anyway, so she came out with a lawsuit this week, and after making the band, they went on to form this like really stupid group. It was like her, some other chick, and Diddy, and they called themselves Diddy Dirty Money. And so anyway, Dawn is like suing him, saying that like he kidnapped her and all this stuff, and it's a pretty deep lawsuit. But anyway, so the next day, the other girl that was in that group came out and was like, "Oh, I never saw any of that." And it turns out that she's like, I guess went on to be on like Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, and she's married to some guy, like I think his last name is Vic, but it's not like Michael Vick or anything, but Tony Vick or something. I don't know, but she said like, "Oh, I never saw that," but I think it was the court that exposed that he called her the next day after Dawn's lawsuit came out 54 times. So like that's the type of person that Diddy is. Like he's just like over and over and over and over, and he's just like, I feel like he's been like this ever since he was young, because he put a lot of things in his mother's name. And like one of the first things he said was like, "Oh, I'll give up my mom's house. Like I'll give up my $50." Like he doesn't care. Like he's been And there's been rumors about his mom even basically saying like he is just like a terrible person. Like I don't think his mom like
So
either.
the real thing when I just from a building a character profile on someone like this there too is they have to somehow, if they've always been this kind of a obnoxious kind of a monster, they have to somehow build up the power. They have to somehow survive their own character flaws enough to build up enough power to actually protect themselves in the next level of monstrosity that they're about to engage in, or they have to join a certain club, and then all of a sudden they have that level of protection, because there's a lot of loose cannons out there. But if you're not connected to a network, you can't live the life that Puffy lived if you're not in some sort of a network where protection and is all part of it, because you just can't do it. So I just wonder if that's always the way that someone like him has been. Then at what point did he become untouchable? Because somebody should have been able to take him down earlier on when he was just a nobody. But was he ever a nobody?
Apparently, so when he first started out, and he was doing like he was real small time, and he was working underneath, I forget who it was. It was Albie, whatever his name is. Anyways, I think it's Clive Davis that is his protector, because Clive Davis, like, he was an intern for this guy for like a year. And then all of a sudden came out and Clive Davis just gave him $2 million and he started Bad Boy. And it's like, how do you kind of go from like being like, not like an intern, but he was like a manager, but he was known, for like having these outbursts and kind of like a liability. I don't know. Something happened between him and Clive Davis. Like, I don't know. I mean, we all know like what Clive Davis is into now. Do you think that maybe Diddy's his little black, little sex slave or something?
I don't know. I'm seeing it here. There's a lot of people who have written articles on this. What does Clive Davis have to do with P. Diddy? Bad Boy co-founder Clive Davis, who is largely responsible for P. Diddy's rise to power in the music industry, is grilled about Sean Combs, who is currently the subject of federal investigation. That was from June of this year. So there's a lot of reading material on that particular question that you bring up. I guess the last thing I'll ask you before I bring on some more calls is, every time something happens, whether it has to do with Harvey Weinstein, whether it has to do with Jeffrey Epstein or something like that, there's always a huge, or even before, even things that are a lot more political. CEOs and big business magnates, they tend to resign in droves, and they tend to do things in clusters, and it usually draws a lot of attention, and it makes a lot of people feel like there's about to be a very, very gigantic impact made and these people are going down. They're going to be whisked off in chains, but more often than not, it doesn't happen. It's just a very strange pattern that we pick up on. Do you think that these recent music and now Nike resignations have anything to do with this?
Probably. I would think so. Yeah, I think they're probably trying to they probably have some sort of inside information, and they're trying to get ahead of it to get out of that industry, and I don't know.
Well,
maybe hide their money and do something else. I don't know.
I was going to say, it's not like resigning is going to make it all go away if you're going to be tapped on the shoulder. And
true.
But anyway,
it could be forced resignations, though. Like by like the major heads, like the owners or boards. I don't know.
You remember? Oh well, thank you for the call, AK. It's great to hear from you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. There you go, AK.
Right,
AK from PA. It's a good call. It could be one. Think about this, and this is all speculation because I don't know if there's any lines that really connected to any of this. Wait to see what cooks up, and then we can add some more to our conversations in the future. But it'd be great to go back in time and find all of those moments in the last 8 years, especially where there was just a giant number of CEO resignations. I mean, I still remember the intrigue of 2017, 2018 in counting these anomalous numbers of sealed indictments. Whatever the hell happened to that? Aren't all those indictments meant to be unsealed at some point? What the hell was that all? Have they with little fanfare? And then there is just these several rounds of CEO resignations and all that stuff. And it's just like, oh, man, something big is coming. And you tend to hope that something is, but I don't know. Then again, if things like this are really about just moving people around, Harvey Weinstein, you're not the biggest fish in the pond, and you become a problem in your behavior. You're allowed to play around a little bit, but if you get in trouble, you will not be vouched for. And we have a lot more on you than you have on us, and that's it. So you think about that aspect. What if a lot of these CEOs are really tied in with, the scandals, and they are people. Let's say the one guy goes down, everybody has to resign, who is connected in some way, and new people are flushed in, and it is almost like a new generation that just crops up every once in a while. But then again, why would anybody have to resign if they're not going to be pulled away by the law and roped into some kind of a large scandal or something like that? Unless, of course, they're just resigning because they are individuals that are making choices in their lives and they just want to go. And under the circumstances, anybody that resigns from a very, very large company, especially if it is music related, around the same time that one of the biggest names in music in the last 30 years is roped for essentially being the Jeffrey Epstein of the rap industry, then what? It looks very, very, suspicious. It really does. All right, 914-200-0269. Let's see what else we got going in. Jay Britt says, Frank, tonight's show is quite randy. Love the verity. Variety? I like the verity as well, but I'll take whatever. I didn't get around to the Knish. I got to get around to that in a second. Thank you, C. Blanche. Thank you, The Sentinel. And Sean Joe for the cookies over on quitefrankly.tv. So here, real quick on this, because we only got about 15 minutes left. You can call in on whatever you want still. Lebanon bans pagers and walkie-talkies on all flights after that are leaving Beirut. Now, that's what I was talking about last night. These average commercial jetliners have anywhere from 150 to 200 people or more on these flights. And first of all, who the hell... The pager thing is just so weird. You can't get an encrypted flip phone and a burner, a smart device. It's just the pagers are just so crazy. But they're walkie-talkies as well too. Who brings a walkie-talkie onto a flight? But when you think about those can be turned into little mini grenades, yeah, I can imagine that they're all just leaving it behind. The last 2 days saw so many pagers, two-way radios, and electronic devices explode, literally thousands, that there are fears an electronic with a bomb on it could inadvertently make its way onto a passenger flight. The country's state news broadcaster, NNA, is reporting that Lebanon's Director General of Civilian Aviation has banned all passengers from carrying pagers and walkie-talkies on board any aircraft. And this is why I say this being done by Israel is terrorism. I mean, I don't think it's a very big leap to say so. This is terrorism. Without taking sides on anything, just saying when two people are fighting each other, they go meet up together in a desert somewhere and get into a fist fight, have at it. I don't give a shit. But when you start thinking about ways to getting at your enemy that involves turning everyday communication devices into grenades that'll go off at synchronized times at high traffic moments of the day in public squares and everywhere else where you're You're potentially hitting children or maybe taking down commercial aircraft. What the hell are we talking about here? To even consider that so wantonly is ridiculous. But evil times. Evil times. So, yeah, this makes perfect sense that these things would be banned on these flights. So there you go. The TSA. The TSA it is. But here's what I brought up. The reason why I called it Season of the Knish is because of Halloween Season of the Witch. 1982. You know, it's one of those bar trivia questions. Which Halloween movie, Halloween, like Michael Myers, which one did not have Michael Myers in it? And it was Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, because Halloween was supposed to be an anthology of movies under the Halloween banner that was pretty much like a series, unrelated to each other. It's just that the first Halloween that came out, Michael Myers was such a hit, and it just took everybody by storm that they couldn't just move on to the next thing. People wanted more. So they did Halloween 2 with Michael Myers in the hospital and all that stuff. And that's after they did Halloween 2, wrapping up the Michael Myers line. They said, okay, let's go back to the original vision. And that's when they did Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, which is actually a pretty good film. But it just didn't track with people because everybody was looking for Michael Myers, and they were let down. And then like 6 years later, they brought him back for 4, and it's just been like 90,000 Halloweens and reboots ever since. But still, here's the plot summary, just so you all know if you want to go back and watch it again. Let's see here. We can go through all the names and whatever. Anyway, there's a lot of witchcraft that's involved. There's these here. I'll read it for you. So you got this shop owner in 1982, Harry Grimbridge. He's clutching a jack-o'-lantern Halloween mask. He's being pursued by a mysterious man or men in suits. He collapses at the shop of Walter Jones, who calls for help. Harry is taken to a hospital, placed in the care of Dr. Daniel Chalice, an alcoholic doctor who has a strained relationship with his ex-wife and 2 children. That's the real story. No, just kidding. Later that night, Harry is murdered by another suited man. You just can't stay away from them. They will find you. Who immolates himself in his car. So it's just takes care of himself afterwards. After identifying his body, Harry's daughter, Illy, meets Daniel to talk about the suspicious events around Harry's death. They decide to investigate and travel to Santa Mira, California, hometown to Silver Shamrock Novelties Factory, which makes the Halloween mask that Harry carried the night of his death. As they check into a motel, Daniel learns that Harry had stayed there in the past. Marge Gutman, another motel customer, discovers a microchip on the back of the medallion of one of the masks. The medallion emits a deadly energy beam into her mouth as she picks at it, curiously, with a hairpin. Her face is left mutilated, and an insect crawls out of her mouth. Shortly after, men in lab coats takes Marge's body away in a silver Shamrock van. Daniel overhears the factory technicians describing a misfire to factory owner Conal Cochran. And this is when they start piecing it together that these Halloween masks that were like, I think they were fused with some kind of a chip from the stone. Yes. Cochran takes Daniel to the final processing control room and reveals his plan. The microchip on each mask contains a fragment of Stonehenge that he stole. Upon viewing the big giveaway commercial, so they had a big giveaway commercial that they were going to put on television, and all the children in the country at a certain time were going to put on these Halloween masks that had these chips on there, and they sit around their televisions on Halloween night or whenever the hell it was, I forget. And when the big giveaway commercial is aired, the commercial is essentially the trigger for these masks to go off, and not only to have everybody wearing the mask be killed, but everybody around them being killed as well by these bugs and other things that are emitted around there. And I was just like, damn. Reminded me of all the cell phones that are going off right now across the Middle East. The big giveaway commercial. Of course, there was a was a decent wrap up. It's the Halloween that people watch the least of because they all like the Michael Myers end of it. But that was my little tie-in here. That was my reference, my obscure reference to an obscure movie in an otherwise very popular series. So that's what we have tonight. Okay, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. I'll see you tomorrow. It's Friday. Matt will be in. I will tell him that 56% of you, 56% of 560 people who voted are going to be voting on November 5th for the sole reason of saving Matt's life, or the primary reason. Not that immigration or the economy isn't important to you, but the primary reason is saving Matt's life. I'm going to let him know about that. The poll has ended. Thank you so much for your help. Thank you. That's all I have for you. Okay, guys and gals, thank you so much. Let me just make sure I didn't leave anything on the table. We're all good. Thank you. That's it. All right, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, we close out the show, close out the week. Another busy one indeed. I will see you on the flip side, and you can email the show at quitefranklypodcast@gmail.com. And please consider becoming a monthly sponsor. Doesn't take a lot, and you get so much. That's all on the Sponsor Us page on quitefrankly.tv. Until next time, love ya.
I'll catch you on the flip side.